Welcome back to California Cooking. 'Tis the season for entertaining, so I'm going to share a few appetizers perfect for the holidays. But before we dive in, let's visit a delicious spot to grab your holiday cookies this year. The love story behind Cookie Good is just as sweet as their treats.
Hi, I'm Melanie.
And I'm Ross.
And we're the owners of Cookie Good.
Cookie Good, I always loved to bake, and I was a writer before this. And I always had stress and depression as a writer. And I was talking to somebody one day, and I always loved to bake. I was saying, like, when I make cookies, I don't feel that stress. You do a little bit of work, you put it together, you bake it, you eat it, and you just can't help but be happy. And I said, I wish I felt cookie good about my writing. And that's how we got the name Cookie Good. And there's a tagline, it's how you want to feel, because we really do think that having a cookie taps into something more than just eating. I think it gets to memories, and a lot of our things are nostalgic. And that first bite of a cookie and it brings you someplace else, it's how you want to feel.
Well, actually, it was my idea to do the business.
Which is a shock.
Which is a shock. So the writer's strike happened in 2007, and it just wasn't ending. And I was home with the kids, they were still little, and Ross couldn't sell anything, so we had no income, and I'm the one who pays all the bills, so I was starting to get stressed out, and finally I looked at him one day and I said, we gotta do something. So our friends were always begging him to bake because they loved what he did and wished they could buy cookies for gifts and things. So they said, please do that. So I looked at him and I said, I think we have to start making cookies, and I don't care if somebody wants to give us a nickel for a cookie. We're so desperate for income. Let's just try it. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's start it in the house. So we started baking, and I suddenly was doing dishes at 2 in the morning and realizing I was probably an idiot for coming up with that idea.
Well, the joke is the strike ended
like a week later.
Yeah, like a week later.
And so then Ross was back to writing and baking and writing and baking, and he'd go to Starbucks to write, and he'd get a phone call thinking it was notes from his agent, but it was the agent actually calling to ask him for cookies. So he would call me and say, turn on the oven, I'm coming home, and he'd come home and he'd start making dough, and we'd be baking and scooping dough all night, and you know, it was crazy, but we did that for 3 years in the house.
Suddenly we were on a blog called Daily Candy, which in those days was a big deal. And so when we were on that, we started getting calls from strangers. Initially,
we were outed.
Initially, we were baking for friends, or then it was friends of friends. And once it was out and it was strangers, we thought we can't bake at home anymore. So we looked for a commercial space. And we found this place. We loved it as soon as we saw it. Making people feel cookie good is a pretty great thing. Watching people eat the cookies is really satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is a great thing.
And not only seeing how much people love the cookies, but really I think the biggest blessing of the shop is just getting to know the customers. We have made so many good and close friends since we've been here for 10 years.
The cookies they're nostalgic, and they're based on some of our favorite desserts. I love breakfast cereal because I couldn't eat it as a little kid. So now that I'm a grown-up, I can do whatever I want. So we always have a cereal flavor. Everyone has a different kind of cookie. Our cookies are really nicely sized so that it's not too much of a commitment. You can eat the whole thing and not feel too bad about it, or if you want to get a bunch of flavors and break off pieces and share them and try different things, that works too. And our cookies are kind of crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside.
Like Ross was saying, they're baked on desserts and things that are his favorite things to remind him of his childhood. So we have cookies based on pies and cakes and donuts and New York crumb cake in honor of my New York roots. So when you're eating them, you kind of feel like you're 6 years old again.
On our second date, I wanted to do something special. We went to the Real Inn, which sadly is now gone because of the fires, in Malibu on PCH. I surprised her after we had our dinner with a little box of brownies and some cold milk and a blanket. We walked across PCH.
Ran across
PCH safely. And I gave her this little box of brownies and cold milk. And it was the cheesecake brownie.
And I have to say, it's still my favorite of all of his brownies and even cookies that he made me, but it was so unexpected and very romantic, and I couldn't believe he was such an amazing baker, and I knew that I won the jackpot.
Coming up, festive appetizers perfect for the holiday season. I'm making a fondue board, Brie cranberry pull-apart bread, and crab-stuffed garlic butter shrimp. When cheese and crackers just won't do, melted camembert with honey and thyme turns your cheese tray into a winner. It is the time of year where you entertain more maybe than you normally would throughout the rest of the year. And you want those kind of fun, festive snacks when people come over that are easy to make. You don't have to put a whole lot of thought into it. And this idea is basically just a cheese board, but it's kind of kicked up a notch because I love fondue, but fondue is difficult to make sometimes and to keep it melty. And so I have camembert cheese. I'm gonna cut the top off, keep it in its little thing, and put it in the oven so that it becomes fondue. And then have all these little dippy things where you can dip it in the camembert. So it's almost cheating in a way. I've got, you know, some little potatoes we could dip. I've got some sausages I'm gonna brown up, fruits, pickles, baguette. So all the kind of French little things maybe that would go along with it. So the first thing, and I would get a big one. They didn't have a big one at the store, so I got 2 little ones, but the bigger the better, I think, for this. So the one thing you gotta do is you've gotta cut the top off, this little white bit, to reveal that. That's gonna go on a little baking dish. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of honey. You don't have to do this step, but I just think it could add a little something to our camembert. And just to make it look pretty, I've got some fresh thyme right there, and that'll just kind of melt in and look pretty. Okay, those are going in the oven. I don't think it'll take very long. Actually, before I do, let me cut up my baguette and get that in the oven with it. Just cutting little pieces to put on your board that you can dip in the cheese. Kind of more fun than cold cheese slices, I think. And just place our slices here on the baking sheet. And then drizzle that with some olive oil or butter. These going in the oven. I've got a pretty high oven, 400. So I have some of these sausages that I think would be nice to dip into our camembert. So I'm gonna slice them on an angle, and then I'm gonna crisp them up in a pan. So this, I think, just makes it a little heartier. This could be, I mean, a dinner. If you've got some meat, potatoes, cheese, bread, and then I'm gonna go just fry these up in a pan to get a little crisp on them. Okay, our camemberts are ooey and gooey. So I'm gonna place those first on our board. Around it, I'm just going to put all of these yummy little bits. I put some paper down just for like the sausage. You could do this however you like, but I've got our little sausages browned up. Sometimes you want more than crackers when it comes to dipping. Oh, we've got our potatoes. I cut some in half, and I will keep a few others whole, and I just kind of drizzled them with a little bit of olive oil so that they look nice. Just stack those up. And we've got some apple slices. I also made sure these have lemon on our apple slices. I'm gonna put them over here so that they don't brown. We've got some grapes, just because typically that's what you will see on a cheese board. And just stack it up. The more, the merrier. And then I've also got some, our toasted bread. We cannot forget about our toasted baguette. Beautiful. Oh, I've got some little pickles, some little gherkins. They're tangy, they're good kind of in that French vibe. You just want different textures, colors, flavors. Oh, we've got some pretty tomatoes on the vine, why not? For the color, right? We can just lay those around. And then, so now what I like to do is just for some green, tuck in, I've got rosemary, we have the thyme that we used, but just around the edges to make it look festive and finished. And then it's just a little bit of a different take on a cheese board to have the melted cheese. I think this looks really kind of fun and festive. And one of those things when people walk in, a little glass of champagne, and this is all you need. More cheese, please. Well, I made this one a few years ago, but it was that good, we had to feature it again. My Brie cranberry pull-apart bread is festive, delicious, and a great addition to your holiday table. This is the time of year where people would come over and they'd pop by and you'd have to have something maybe ready to serve as a little snack. I do think this would be the perfect thing to serve on a cozy night where you just want a little nibble, maybe you have a glass of wine, watch a movie, a Christmas movie. This is Brie and cranberry pull-apart bread with some rosemary, and it's all the flavors you want in the holidays. This is so easy because you buy the bread, and this is just a round artisan loaf, and you take a serrated knife, and you don't go all the way down, but you cut almost. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make kind of a crisscross pattern, and you'll see why in a second. And maybe instead of like a cheese platter kind of thing, this is all you need, honestly. And now we turn. And then you're gonna go this way, almost all the way through, but not quite. And you wanna cut them into bite-sized pieces, okay? I also have the oven preheated. I have the oven at probably 425. And you wanna get this nice and toasted and melt the cheese. Okay, so now because we did that, see what it does? It becomes this accordion. And in between all of those little cuts, you're gonna stick Brie cheese and you're gonna stuff cranberry sauce. And it's gonna be good. So, and really, I think there's no rhyme or reason to this. You just start doing this, and you take a spoon, and this is just out of the can, cranberry sauce, chunky, with the whole cranberries. And you find places to hide. It's like a surprise. Hide it right in there. And I would say as much as you can get in there and fill these little crevices without it falling apart on you. And everybody after Thanksgiving, you always have an extra can of this in the pantry, lying around. And if you, honestly, if you don't like cranberries, I think this would be great with like a jam. You could do an apricot jam, a fig jam. Now to the Brie. So I'm just going to cut pieces that I can tuck in there. And you want your Brie cold because if it gets too soft, it's gonna be tricky. Oh my gosh, you guys, I think this is gonna be so delicious. And any cheese would work, any, I think, gooey, melty cheese. But I just love Brie. And I'm not even taking the rind off, I'm just gonna keep that on. And sometimes I think around the holidays, it's just nice to have something quick and easy, but festive, right? This would be great on a night maybe you're decorating the tree. My goal is to get it into every slice, but I don't know. How's it looking? I think we're good. We're not done. Melted butter. To the melted butter, fresh rosemary. And I'm gonna take a stem of rosemary and chop it up, fine chop. And rosemary just smells like a pine tree, so very festive. And it's red, white, and green, which I think is so pretty for the holidays. This kind of hits all the marks, this one, I have to say. Rosemary into our butter. Stir that up. Get a little brush, a pastry brush. I'm gonna set this guy on a baking sheet. How cute is that? And then we brush. And this is gonna get all brown and toasty. The cheese is going to melt. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. And I used probably 1/4 of a stick of butter, which is plenty. And we're done. And this is gonna go in the oven. I'm gonna check on it. I'm gonna say 10 minutes and then we'll see how it's doing. Okay, our bread is done. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Slide it off there. It's crusty, it's ooey, it's gooey. Perfect thing, a little glass of champagne, a Christmas movie. Might just sneak a piece. And you've got the Brie cheese and the cranberry. Mmm! That is the perfect holiday bread. Coming up, the holidays call for something decadent, so I'm cooking up crab stuffed garlic butter shrimp. That's coming up next. This appetizer feels elevated and it comes together in no time during this busy holiday season. It's crab stuffed garlic butter shrimp. This appetizer, I think, appeals to those shrimp cocktail lovers, crab cake lovers. I include myself in that group. And it's kind of combining maybe like a shrimp scampi, which is garlicky and buttery, with a crab cake. And it would be perfect with some crusty bread, or it's more than just a little nibble. It's delicious stuff when you add butter and garlic and shrimp to the mix. So here's how we're gonna get started. I've got a little baking dish. Get as big of shrimp as you can get. These are not as big as I wanted. This was as big as they had at the grocery store. If you can find bigger, do that. I butterfly them. So I split them open, and that's how we're gonna kind of stuff them. I put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of my pan here so things don't stick. And I'll show you what we're gonna do when it comes to the crab mixture. So I've got some lump crab meat. I'm gonna put that into my bowl, and it is good to kind of look for shells, and I'm gonna make the filling. I'm gonna start with some delicious mayo. To help bind things together, I've got some panko breadcrumbs. I'm eyeballing. I'm gonna start with like half cup. I've got some red pepper. I would say quarter red pepper, just to add a little bit of color. Scallions, a little bit of celery. And you just wanna dice everything up pretty fine. So I've got 3 or 4 scallions, and I've got just a couple stalks of celery. So this goes in to our crab mix. And then we'll see if we need to add a little bit more mayo, how things are holding together. You really want to get it to a point where it could hold a little, if you were to make, a little bit of a patty to stuff into the shrimp. We're gonna add a little bit of garlic powder. You could add Old Bay, a little bit of salt, not too much. I'm also gonna do some lemon zest. So now we've got our butterflied shrimp. I'm gonna place them this side down. You can leave their tails on so you can grab them. And I'm gonna just go around my dish, exposing that side that we can stuff. And really it just depends on how big of a pan you wanna do, how many shrimp you need. We could probably get close to 20 in here. To our shrimp, salt and pepper. Now we're going to stuff the tops of our shrimp. So basically every little top of the shrimp gets a nice little topping of crab. And at some point, it's all gonna just be covered in crab because these shrimp are a little bit smaller, but if you got the real jumbo, then you could just fill them individually. Okay, so there we go. We've got our crab. I'm gonna place it in the oven super hot. I'm gonna just a little bit of olive oil. At the very end, I'm going to pour on some garlic butter with some fresh dill. This should cook quick. So this has been in the oven for about 10 minutes. It's almost done, but the last couple minutes of cooking, I'm gonna pour over our garlic butter all the way down in there to the shrimp, and then I'm gonna put it back in the oven for just a couple of minutes to finish up. This is just a quick little appetizer. I actually did this the other night. I had some leftover Brie cheese. It was really soft and gooey, and I had some dates, and I thought, okay, let me stuff my dates with a little bit of the Brie, and just for a little nibble when you're enjoying your wine. And so I put the Brie, if it's cold, I just put the Brie in the microwave for, 20 seconds, no time at all. These are pitted dates to make life easy. Medjool dates, which are really sweet and delicious. So always the sweet and savory thing I think is yummy for an appetizer. And if you can find the like really gooey Brie, it was like a double cream, that's even better. So you do as many as you want to do of that. Then you could take a little bit of honey and go around. Some fancy sea salt to cut the sweetness of the date. I also, for crunch, so I only have a few pistachios left in the bag. Give them a whack. Sprinkle some crushed pistachio on top. And there you've got a little nibble while everyone waits. Okay, our shrimp is out of the oven. It's bubbling because of the butter and the garlic. And I just cut some fresh dill and a couple of lemon slices, and I just tucked them in there. Crusty bread. You got a winner of an appetizer. For all the recipes we featured, follow us on Instagram at KTLA California Cooking. Well, that does it for us. Wishing you and your family a very happy holiday. See you next time.